Hey, what's up, guys? It's Vic the Ninja Closer, and I am here with Juliana Hernandez. She's another awesome closer from the UCM. We're just here to catch up and to understand where she's at and where she's been and just kind of get her experience of the whole thing. What's up, Juliana? How are you?
Hi everyone, I'm doing great. How are you, Vic?
So good. It's been such a good day. And I'm so glad to talk to you because I feel like you said, we haven't talked in a while. It's been a minute.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a while since we've last spoken, so there's a lot to catch up on.
Awesome. So why don't you tell me what you're doing right now, where you are?
Yes. So previously I was in the setter role with coaching sales with the company, and I was basically at the start of my journey where I was trying to ramp up, pick up as many calls as I could, get as much exposure in the industry. And that was a great experience. I had a great team. It was awesome. But now I'm transitioning over to another company in a very similar role where I can continue to grow and expand because what I've been able to create with networking has been like a lot of opportunities where even when I'm not expecting, they come. And when you have the opportunity to level up, just taking it as they come.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And I love that you said that because that's exactly what networking does for you, right? It builds that cache of opportunities that come your way just from having a good network. And that's awesome. I'm glad that it's worked out for you. So it's been really cool watching you grow. Can you tell us a little bit about where you were when you first started?
Yeah, it's been a long journey. So about 2 years ago, I graduated from UC Merced with a bachelor's in management and business economics. So before then, I had the ideology that in order to create more wealth or a better future for me and my family, I had to get an education, go to a 9 to 5 job, climb the corporate ladder, and do that until maybe one day I got the opportunity to build enough capital to start a business. So I did that. I graduated and I got a job in finance right after. And within 1 year, I wasn't happy with it. And I knew since high school that I was meant to do business, but my mindset was that back then it was a lot of products and services, but at specific locations. So in my head, I need to have enough capital in order to be able to start a business. So I thought I was going to have to work in corporate for a few years to build up the capital and learn from them what worked and what didn't work. And then maybe eventually I'll be able to start my own business. But I had amazing guidance from a mentor in high school where we did a project of, let's say, what did you want to be in the future in regards to your job and what did you want your lifestyle to look like, and we compared the two and mine was drastically different. It did not match up at all. So then he planted the idea of, okay, let's take, like at the time I wanted to be a hairdresser, so he's just like, instead of switching your entire career, why don't you just open up a salon yourself instead of working at a salon? So that opened the idea of like, I like to do so many things that I kept it so broad. So I went on to get the business degree. And that was the route that I was going to take. But right away with the 9 to 5, it just wasn't clicking because I was used to burst of work in a short period of time. Like in college, I would get all my studying done in, let's say, 3 hours and be done. And like put and then get like an amazing grade, where I saw other people that were spending like nights or entire days studying. So that was very different for me. And that didn't align with the 9 to 5 work. So a year after that, I was unhappy with that. So I started searching of what comes next. Then COVID kind of hit and I was working from home. So you get that, I had a lot of that scarcity mindset of I just have
Mhm.
to stay here where it's safe. But I was exploring in the meantime. So I joined an app called Connectful, where I was networking with young entrepreneurs. So I learned about individuals who were maybe day trading or different industries. And that ultimately led me to real estate. And that's where I got really interested of, hey, this is actually something that I want to do. So I was doing my real estate classes while I was doing the 9 to 5 and a little bit of self-development work. And then I was on that route until I met Fatima, where she introduced me to the idea of high ticket sales. And initially I joined because I just wanted to learn how to network, because in
Hmm.
real estate, I was never, like when I was younger, I was never a people person. I was very introverted and I didn't know how to network and I didn't know how to do sales. And in real estate, what I saw is that the top producers were able to network very
Hmm.
well and they had those sales skills. So if I wanted to make it, I needed to get those. So that's initially why I joined the mastermind. Also, I had a scarcity mindset with money of like, I wanted to hold on to as much of it as possible and not let it go. So to me in my head, I was just like, regardless of the outcome, if I'm able to let go of this money as an investment, then I'm starting to let go of the idea that I have to hoard it. So that's why I joined, but then it changed my world entirely. Because from then I actually set out my long-term goals and what I wanted my life to look like. And what I saw a lot of in the real estate industry is that, yes, you can make a lot of money. Yes, you can be successful. It has kind of that lifestyle that I want. But my biggest drawback was the time. Like people in real estate were working, like some of the mentors were working from like 8 in the morning till the time they went to sleep. They were working
Mm,
weekends. Like there was no life outside of that, because aside from finding your own prospects and doing the sales process, you're also delivering the service.
right.
Yeah, so it was a lot, and I was trying to determine, do I want to do real estate or do I want to go to high ticket sales? Because at that point, I was trying to do both at the same time, and my and I was just like, I can't do this. I'm not moving in any direction. So ultimately, I found that high ticket sales worked the best. Um, with the lifestyle that I was trying to create, because with real estate, while you can make a good career out of it, it was going to be hard to keep it running long term, because
Right.
I felt like I wasn't going to be happy working that amount of time. So yeah, it's been a long journey since then.
I think it's so cool that you had this mentor in high school that said, hey, you know what? Let's expand your mind and let's build your lifestyle that you want. And then let's build, what you want to do for a living and match them up. Right. So that drew you to business, which drew you to finance, which drew you to real estate, which drew you to high ticket sales, which drew you back to the same exercise. And it was like, hold
Mhm.
on, let me see this lifestyle that I want to live and what I'm now doing and what I now want to do and see if it matches up. And when it didn't, again, you were like, okay, now it's time to reevaluate, dig into high ticket sales, and really grow from there. And one of the things I really like about you in particular is you showed up on every call you could be on, you were there. You asked as many questions as you could. And I remember talking to you at one point and you said, I feel like I'm kind of behind because everybody else that started with me, they're getting jobs, they're moving forward, and I feel like I'm lagging. And I'm like, but I remember telling you, I'm like, but what you're doing that they're not doing is you're building a network. You're doing a very good job at putting down the foundations of a successful career. You're putting your network first. You're building, you're finding out as much information as you can. You're talking to as many people as you can. And now look what that network has done for you. Isn't I just find it so cool. It like gives me butterflies just thinking about the progression of where you were when you first came in and how you kind of grew and grew and grew, and then to where you are now. It's like this is exactly why we do what we do, right? Because I want to make sure that people like you can be successful when you put the work in. And now you've got opportunities galore, more than you know what to do with.
Mhm.
And you're having to make hard decisions like, should I stay or should I go? Should I take this or should I take that? And it's no longer, what am I going to do for money? What do I want to do for a career? How am I going to make this lifestyle fit what I'm doing now? Those questions are all answered. Now it's like, let's grow, let's do it, let's make it actually happen. I love it.
And it happened in such a short span of time. Like as soon as it started building momentum, it just like it was like a run.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was incredible. And I think I've always been very high achieving. So I always have the idea that I'm behind and I never know behind what.
Yeah, I get it. Just from listening to like how you study, I'm like, yeah, she's super intelligent. Like, I get it. That's awesome though. I mean, but that's what we have to work through, right? We have to work through, okay, am I really behind, or does this work just take time? Right? Or am I doing the right things? Am I making the right steps? Am I putting the right effort forward? And will it pay off? And all of those questions are being answered for you right now, which is really awesome. Let's talk about some of that high achieving performance, because I think we should go through that before I let you go. So at one point you had 200 dials in a day, 200 calls.
Yeah, I was doing, I think the top day I was like probably like 520, no, 222 dials a day. Yeah,
Wow.
outbound dial. That was insane. At the end of the day, it was like it was a feeling of achievement, but also you're just like, I'm done for the day.
Right. How long did that take you?
um, Usually it happened with an 8 hour span. So
Okay.
6 to 8 hours, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a good chunk of time, but it was a lot of calls.
Awesome. And do you feel like that many calls prepared you for the role you're going to take now? Is that something you're going to be doing in your current role, taking a bunch of calls constantly?
So the volume won't be as drastic. It will be a lot of contact points, but I think when you start with something that big, you're like, bring on whatever comes
Yeah.
next. It'll be
Yeah.
easy now. So once you take the hard positions, then everything else comes easy to you. But it
Awesome.
was really interesting because for that, in order to do that, I took a very different approach of let's say on day one, I was very like calm and nonchalant. And I'm like, yeah, give me 50 calls. And then the next day they'll be like, oh, how many do you want to take? I'm like, give me 100. And they'll be like, are you sure? Are you good? 100? And I'm like, yeah. And then the next day I was like 150. And like in the calls, I'd be like, yes, just give them to me. It's fine. But then inside, like during the day, I'd be like, how am I going to do that? But I took that approach that JD mentioned when he was just like, say yes, then figure out how to do it. So every
Mhm.
day I just be like at 50, at 50, at 50. And even when I was questioning myself of how am I going to do it, I'd be like, I'll figure it out tomorrow. And then I
Yeah.
would figure it out. And that approach has worked really well in terms of leveling up because it is just that fear of can I do it? And am I setting myself up for failure?
Yeah. So let's talk about that approach, because it's like you're presented with an issue or with a challenge, right? And instead of being like, I can't do this, or trying to figure it out, then you're just like, yes, I'll do it, and then making it work. So what you're teaching yourself how to do is be resourceful and figure out, okay, how am I going to use the resources that I have and the time that I have to make this work, to make this like fit and actually get it done. And I love that. I love that. Yes, and figure it out as it comes. I'll play it by ear, but yeah, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to make sure that I do it. Have you found that what you've learned in the mentorship you apply to everything else in your life?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I think when I came in, I was definitely working through a lot of limiting beliefs, even outside of sales, just in terms of my own self-development. It could be like trauma from childhood, it could be limiting beliefs about money, it could be about networking, about people, about individuals who have wealth and the characteristics that they have. Like it was just everywhere. And before the mentorship, I had all the knowledge. I collected as much as I could, but I wasn't taking action. It wasn't moving. Like I spent a whole year learning about different industries where I wanted to go, but I would just wasn't moving the needle. And it was that mental work, those limiting beliefs, and that work that goes outside of just like training, getting a job, and the basics that really started that momentum to remove those barriers so that I could actually take action. And that's when it built so fast over the last couple of months. Um, so I think that was a big factor that a lot of other programs don't have that make sure that you're successful.
Yeah. And I think that, I mean, in the interviews that I've done and people that I've talked to and just the everyday work of the mastermind, I find that the people who take action and take consistent action are the people who have the best results, have the fastest results, and have the people who have the most long lasting results. And I see all three of those things in you. And I'm so excited to watch your journey kind of explode and see where you'll be in the next, 2-3 months. Because looking back a couple months ago, you were at one point, right? And I knew you'd get here, but now you're here. And it's really exciting to see where you're going to go. What are your goals for the next couple months?
I would say definitely I've gotten a lot more comfortable with dials, but I feel with my first position, I didn't have the best experience with, like, let's say Messenger
Hmm.
or other social media platforms because I didn't have the guidance in place. So with this role, while I do want to do more dials and get better on the phone, I really want to be more well-rounded with other social media platforms. And like, let's say I had a role where maybe it wasn't inbound leads, or we had a period of no leads coming in, being resourceful and learning how to get leads myself so that I'm not relying on a client to bring them to me, but to be more self-sufficient and take that responsibility on myself.
Love it. Love it. Well, hey, what would you say is some advice for someone who maybe they were just like you? Maybe they, went to college, graduated, thought they knew what they wanted to do, found themselves doing it, and then now they're like, okay, let's try high ticket sales and see if that works. What would your advice be for them?
I would say definitely go into it with an open mind approach. Like, um, oftentimes I think we think that we picked a specific, let's say, career that we want to go to, and we tend to stick with it long term because that's what we planned out. But I figured out that it's more about what's your long term goal, and have some flexibility of how to get there as long as you get there.
Hmm.
So be open minded to that. I would say definitely also have like a savings account, like a fund, in order to get you through the first months so that you're focused on learning. Like, just like college, when I spent those 4 years, like not worrying about money or finances, but just learning that skill to prepare me to later on be in a career. You also need those first few months to learn the industry and not be focused on, I just need to get this person to buy this product or service because I need the money. It should be more on like, how do I learn how to actually serve people? And that's what I did early on. I spent a whole year putting together kind of like a cushion for myself so that when I was ready to take this step, I was prepared. And that took a lot of the like feeling of the risk outside of it so that I could just focus on this one thing that I wanted to learn. I think that makes the transition a lot easier.
Nice. I love it. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for, the energy that you've given us tonight. Thank you just just for being you and giving your story. And I think a lot of people can relate to where you're coming from, but a lot of people can also look at it and say, all right, so I don't have to do this for the rest of my life. I can pivot into something else. I can make it work. I can go from this where I spent my whole life thinking this is what I wanted to do. And then now I'm going to pivot and make sure that I can actually get accomplished the goals that I want to be accomplished. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, no, my high school mentor essentially told me that the average person will switch careers 7 times in their life, and he's just like, I don't mean jobs, I mean like actual careers. So if somebody, let's say, the first career that they choose is the right one, that means that another person has to add another 6 different careers to make that balance out. So he's just like, be flexible because you're going to be
Yeah.
switching. Like, even now being in sales, like I might end up somewhere else eventually. So being flexible in that sense and knowing that you'll be able to adapt.
Awesome. Love it. Well, hey, I'll see you soon. We'll see you on some calls. We'll see your journey, and I hope you have a good night.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.